All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm not going to be reading anything. Today I'm going to be reviewing a book that I just read, and that is The Outsider by Stephen King. This is a reread for me. I've read it once before. This book came out in 2018. I read it the very day it came out. Actually, I listened to it the very day it came out. This was the first ever book I purchased on audible.com. This was my introduction to audible.com, and this has got me my subscription to audible.com. I've since got like 600 novels that I've purchased through audible.com. But this was the very first one. The day it came out, I was driving to Phoenix, Arizona, to the Phoenix Comic-Con in 2018, on the very day this book was being released, and I've always read Stephen King books on the day they're released. Well, I was driving this day, and I was like, how am I going to read and drive? And then I was like, oh, Audible. Today is the day I will get an Audible subscription. This was the first book. I listened to the book along the drive. Salt Lake City to Phoenix. It's a long drive and back. It took me the whole drive. Such a memorable novel and such a great listening experience that I remember almost the whole book to this day. It was a 2018. What is it now? 2023. That's 5 years. And as I was rereading this, I was almost kind of bored because I was like, I remember all of this like I just read it yesterday. And that is how good of a job Will Patton did of narrating the book. So, if you've been following my channel for any length of time, you know I've been rereading and reviewing all of the Stephen King novels in order of publication. I've got every single Stephen King novel over here on my shelf. We've been doing them in order of publication. We started in 2020. I'm nearing the end, folks. I'm nearing the end of the whole list with The Outsider. We review the covers first because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. We usually do that first before I review the Audible, because a lot of these I've been listening to again on Audible, but I already talked about the Audible. I'll edit that. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be edited out of this, and I'll edit it out later. But anyway, the cover first. This is one of my favorite Stephen King covers. In fact, I've got the original hardcover version here and the paperback. The only difference is the paperback has this weird sticker on it that says soon to be a Netflix something or other. Oh, an HBO thing. I never did watch the HBO show of this. Maybe I should. But anyway, I love these covers. This is great. One of the main reasons I love these covers is the silver and black theme goes with me being a Raiders fan, as you can see on my hat. So anytime we got silver and black going, I'm down. I also like the upside down dude with the red glowing eyes. That's pretty dope. The HBO sticker, we could get rid of that. On the back side, on the back side of the paperback, we've got this. On the back side of the hardcover, we just have this, which is kind of cool. Anyway, so, The Outsider. 4 minutes into this book review, and let's get to talking about the actual book. So, Flint City, Oklahoma. Not your typical setting for a Stephen King novel. Usually we're up in Maine, or maybe down in Florida. Maybe in a hotel in Colorado. I don't think he's ever set one in Oklahoma before, but here we are, Flint City, Oklahoma. An 11-year-old boy is murdered. Brutally murdered. So heinous of a crime, even law enforcement is like shocked and disturbed, and it's freaked out the entire town. Terrence Maitland, or as he's known in the book, Terry Maitland, or just Terry, he's a Little League coach. He's an English teacher. He's just an all-around good family man. He is pinned for the murder. I mean, there was witnesses that seen him do it. A lot of witnesses that seen him do it. But as they're investigating this guy, it seems to be that the guy has a pretty airtight alibi. Like, the time of the murder, he was actually out of town. They have videotape of him out of town, at a Harlan Coben book signing, which is, which is cool. I like that Stephen King often throws in, he gives a shout out to the authors that he likes reading, and that would be cool if he ever gave a shout out to me. I mean, we have the same publisher. I'm just saying. But that ain't happened yet. But anyway, Harlan Coben gets a shout out in this Stephen King novel because our main character, Terrence, has went to a book signing of Harlan Coben, and there's videotape of him at the book signing at the very time this murder takes place. However, everything else in the investigation points right at him, and he is the guilty dude, right? Well, this book involves a lot of twists and turns. There were some shocking moments in this book. The book involves, a lot of guns, gunplay, shootouts, revenge, shady cops, a little bit magical healing. El Cuco, or El Cucho, I don't know how you pronounce that, but El Cucho is the outsider. That's what that translates to. There's also another detective in this story, and that is Holly Gibney. Now, Holly Gibney is one of our main characters from the Bill Hodges trilogy, Mr. Mercedes, Finders Keepers, End of Watch, and Holly Gibney is getting her own standalone novel. Gosh, that comes out just in a few days, or maybe even tomorrow. I think it comes out tomorrow, and it's just titled Holly. But anyway, Holly Gibney has become one of Stephen King's favorite characters to have reoccur in a lot of the novels that he writes. Well, she has a bit part in this, and she does some investigating, and so we've got this investigation going on. We've got this guy who's pinned for the murder. But he seems to have an airtight alibi. But then we've got this El Cucho, the outsider, the El Cuco, or whatever it's called, the outsider. And this is where this novel really kind of, how a lot of my Dean Koontz book reviews, I'm like, this book is kind of like the most Stephen King-esque Dean Koontz novel, but now this is the most Dean Koontz-esque Stephen King novel. Because the twist in this novel is the outsider itself, which the outsider is El Cuco, and it's like this doppelganger of Terry Maitland, the guy suspected to be the killer. Well, how can he be at two places at once? Well, maybe there's a clone of him. And this is not anything spoilery. This is part of the back jacket. Could there be an El Cuco, a clone, a doppelganger, someone that looks so similar to Terry Maitland that person is the killer? Is this real? Is this some sort of Native American myth come to life? Is this some sort of magical pagan ritual come to life? Is this guy just a twin? Does he have a twin? Does Terry Maitland always had a twin his whole life and never told anybody? What is the mystery behind this? Or is it all just a red herring? Did Terry Maitland actually do it? What's going on? This is a great murder mystery with a super X-Files-esque, Dean Koontz-esque, supernatural twist. And I loved every minute of it when I was listening to it on my drive to Phoenix some 5 years ago. And I enjoyed rereading it again, even though I kind of knew everything that was happening in it as I was rereading it. So it was a fast reread for me. One of my favorite Dean Koontz. No, that's not Dean Koontz. I'll edit that one out too. This is actually a Stephen King novel. Very Dean Koontz-esque Stephen King novel. But a Stephen King novel nonetheless. One of my favorites. I adored everything about it. The plot twists were great. The ending was great. The setup was dynamite. And it's a 10 out of 10 for me. It's one of the 10 out of 10s. So there we go for the review of The Outsider by Stephen King.